Hello everyone, how are you? I logged on a couple of minutes early because, as you know, I'm new to this live situation and I wanted to make sure I had it working right. So, let's see. How's that? You can see me, cool. I wonder if I can see me. Thought I might be able to see me on my computer, but no. All right. Let's just check this out real quick. I want to see if there's a good way to see comments. All right, here we go. I think I can do this. I just need to
Texas area homeowner.
turn this sound off. All right. Oh, cool. Yeah, I think I can. I'll be able to see comments. Cool. So hopefully folks will be joining us. We've got a couple of folks on. Hi, everybody. Good morning. If you would comment and let me know where you are. Are you in the US? Are you someplace else? All right. I'm going to wait just a minute or two. Maybe I need to sit back a tiny bit. Let's see if this works. I don't know. I should probably stop fussing with it. Is it fine? I think it's fine. All right, let's do this. Let's get started. I'm going to just kind of keep checking over here to the side to see if there's any comments, because I found last time I did one of these Facebook Lives that the comments disappeared really fast on my phone screen, and so I thought today I'm going to try this other option and see if it works better. All right, very good. So hi everybody, thank you for joining me for this live. It's only the second one that I've done, so hopefully I'm doing everything right. But we've had such an increase in subscribers in the last few weeks, probably because everybody's at home and looking for ways to practice yoga. Okay, we have somebody from Colorado. Welcome, Krista. And you know, we have all these new folks on here, and it's like a brand new community. This channel has been around for, I think, like 10 years, and finally people are finding us, so that's really exciting. So I wanted to, you know, just start coming on here a little bit more frequently so that I can keep in touch with y'all and see, did you hear that? That was the Texas in me, I said y'all. See what we can do to help. Like, what kind of content are you looking for? We definitely are getting a lot of requests for more bigger bodies videos, and yes, so those are in the works in various ways. So there's more of that coming. I think I have some requests for the part 2 video, or the level 2 video of the plantar fasciitis. I've had a request for a video for RA, rheumatoid arthritis. And if you have other requests, I'm happy to you know, see if I can put a video together for you. Let me go ahead, and I think that's a good segue. Let me start getting into a little bit about me, my background. My name is Zelinda, and I, this is a little bit weird. I'm the owner of this yoga studio here. I've been teaching yoga for about, let's see, 12 years or so. And in 2010, I opened a studio, not this particular location here, but another smaller place that was on the other side of town. And when I started teaching, and when I opened the studio, actually before I opened the studio, I was teaching just by myself for about a year. I would rent space in ballet studios, like, you know, where little girls take dance. And there was a lot of glitter on the floor, and I would drive over there once or twice a week with all my yoga props in the trunk of my car, and I'd unload everything and receive my students, and we'd do a yoga practice, and then I'd pack everything back into my car and drive home with it. And I did that for a year, and it worked out well because by the end of that year, I had lots of regular students who were coming, and then I felt like it was, you know, it would be not so risky to open a physical space because I had those regular students who I could bring with me. And so that's what I did. In 2010 is when I opened the first location. And it was just me when we started, and I was teaching my students who I'd brought with me on Saturday mornings and Wednesday nights. And then slowly it started to grow, and I started bringing on more teachers, and some teachers who teach here at the studio have been with me. We've been teaching together basically since the beginning, and we've added more and more teachers along the way. But that's kind of the history of the studio. And then I'd like to rewind a little bit farther back to tell you about when I started practicing yoga and the influences that I had at the beginning of my own yoga practice, and why I ended up opening this studio with its philosophy and the way that it is. So when I first started practicing yoga, it was right after college. I moved to California, and I was earning money for the first time, and I could afford to spend it however I wanted. And so I started practicing yoga. I had a curiosity and kind of a pull to practice yoga for a long time. I didn't know why, but I just felt that that was something that I wanted to do. And so I went to a yoga studio in Mountain View, California, and I wonder if anyone watching is from California and has ever actually been to this place. It's called Center of Balance, and the teacher there was very, very good. It was a really good beginning to yoga. But when I went in, sorry, there's something here. When I went in and started taking classes for the first time, I think everybody, when they start practicing yoga, has some level of worry or anxiety, or even a sense of intimidation at going in to try something new. We're afraid of looking silly, we're afraid of not fitting in, we're afraid of messing up and embarrassing ourselves. And that's how I felt. But it was kind of compounded because the other people who were in the class with me were so extremely fit. So fit. I felt kind of out of place, and I'm kind of a determined person, and so I persisted and I kept going. And then, I don't know, a few weeks or a few months later, I found out that the people who were in the class with me were the Stanford swimming team, and they were training for the Olympics. And so, the teacher, the owner of this studio, he was their yoga trainer in their preparation for the Olympics, and that's why they were so extremely fit. But for me, as just like a regular, not really fit kind of person, I felt quite intimidated, and that stuck with me. And so when years later I decided to study to become a yoga teacher, that stuck with me. And then later, when it was time to open my yoga studio, that stuck with me. And I've had the philosophy all along that I want yoga to be accessible to people. I wanted to create a space where people would not feel intimidated, where they'd feel welcome actually to just come in and do their yoga practice however they could do it, because any kind of yoga is going to create benefit for you. The act of moving your body, the act of breathing is beneficial for everybody. So when I did do my teacher training program, this is another important thing that I want to make sure to mention. So my husband is from India, and when I was doing my teacher training program, within that span of time, we were gonna visit India for the first time. And I asked my teacher, since yoga is from India, is there a place in India where I can go, on this trip that I'm about to take, where I can study a little bit of yoga? And she recommended 2 places, and so I went to one of them, and it turned out to be really fortuitous and really helped me establish my path. So the place where I went was and still is the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram in Chennai, and that's where I've done all of my advanced training. I completed a 500-hour course there. When was that? I think 2018. And then after that, so initially I did a 200-hour course in the U.S., and then I taught for about 9 or 10 years. And in that span I had kids, and then when it was time, when I felt like my kids were big enough that I could travel, is when I happened to find out that the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram was going to be offering that 500-hour training course, and I knew that I needed to do it. I didn't know how I would be able to do it, but I knew I needed to. And long story short, I figured it out, and I went and I did the training. And the reason I like KYM so much is that my philosophy and their philosophy are one and the same. So they offer pretty much exclusively private instruction. So they do yoga therapy, it's one-on-one instruction, and it's very customized to the individual person. So, you know, if a person comes in because they have back pain, they will, you know, start to understand, you know, what kind of movements can this person do? What kind of movements cause pain? You know, what kind of lifestyle does this person have? They look at a very holistic kind of level, and then they design a course specifically for that person. And in the US, you know, that's not currently a very popular method, I guess, of teaching yoga, but I took what I could from that philosophy to figure out how to, you know, have some level of customization and personalization in my classes. I don't know, I feel like I'm giving you a whole lot of information here. I don't know if you're interested to this level, but you know, that's partly why that's very much why when I designed this studio space, I designed it with kind of smaller rooms so that we could have usually not more than 12 people in the class, so that the teacher can see the students, you know, like really see them and see how they're moving, and you know, get to know everybody so that we can customize the practice. Yeah, so that's my 500-hour course at KYM, and then after that, about a year later, I began the yoga therapy course there. So right now I'm studying to become a yoga therapist, and I was supposed to have gone for the second module of training at the beginning of March, but the morning of my trip, I decided very last minute to cancel and not go, because that's when the coronavirus stuff was, you know, kind of just beginning, and I felt that it was kind of risky for me to go, especially, you know, having kids and all of that. So I ended up not going to the second module, and we need to figure out how I'm going to make up that work so that I can continue on my therapy program. Yeah. All right. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is, you know what, before I go into the next topic, I am going to get to Q&A. I know that I have had questions in the past, from recent past, from people about how to practice yoga if you're not flexible, and also how to practice yoga if you're too flexible, if you're hypermobile. So I'm going to talk about those in just a little bit. But if you have other questions that you'd like me to talk about, I am more than happy to answer them. Last night, one lady posted on the comments of our YouTube, the thing where I posted and said that I was going to be going live, and she asked about breathing, and so I can definitely elaborate about that. Her question was, how is she supposed to breathe? Is she supposed to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth? You know, any kind of question like this, even if it seems like very subtle or silly or anything at all, please go ahead and ask, because chances are somebody else has the same question, and then I can answer it and help all the people. All right, so Q&A. If you have questions, please go ahead and post them as a comment here. Then, oh yeah, I wanted to tell you about why I decided to make the Bigger Bodies video, and probably if you just heard that kind of introduction section, you will have a good understanding of why I did that. It's really important to me. I guess I haven't thought about this exactly before, but equality is important to me, and yoga can provide wonderful benefits that can help all kinds of people. So all kinds of people should feel comfortable and capable of practicing yoga. And I recognize that yoga, I mean, if we're honest, if we're being honest about this, yoga is perceived in the media as an activity that's done by thin, young, flexible people. And that leaves out a whole giant section of the population of Earth. And I'm really interested in, you know, teaching yoga in a way that everybody can teach, but also depicting yoga in a way that's not intimidating to people. So I don't know, it's I don't know, it's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing to kind of get the word out about what I do, but this is what I do, and this is why I made the Bigger Bodies videos with my friend Denise. And she's been practicing yoga for a long time, and she's naturally very flexible. A lot of people comment about you know, wow, Denise is so flexible and I'd like to be like that one day. And, you know, part of it is just her genetics and part of it is that she's been practicing yoga a long time. She's also very strong. But yeah, everyone can practice yoga. So I'm really grateful to her for helping me make those videos, because I think, you know, in this digital world that we live in, people process data really fast. And if they see an image that resonates and they say, ah, this person can do it, then I can too. That helps people, you know, connect with what we're doing faster than, you know, a long description about why we're doing what we're doing. People sometimes don't take the time to read all of that. So I'm really grateful to Denise for helping me out with making these videos. And okay, so that's bigger bodies. Whew, I'm gonna take a break for a little bit. I've been talking a lot. Whew, anyone want to take over for a minute? All right. So one person who's watching said they're from Colorado. Where's everybody else from? I think I see that there's a few people on right now. I'm really excited. You know, we've been offering this. Someone's talking to me over here. Okay. I think everything is all right. Let me just check this. Okay. Someone from Virginia. Hi. Hi, Lori. Very good. Nice to have you. Where was I? I was talking about something. I don't know. Let's continue. Let's go ahead and continue. We're talking about, where are you from? We're talking about comments. Oh, I was talking about the Bigger Bodies online course that we're doing. I was going to say something about that, but now I forgot what it was. Anyway, oh good, we have someone from New York. Hello, hello everybody. Let me just keep going. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the purpose of yoga. This is a tricky one. So there's an important, one of the most important books in yoga is a book called the Yoga Sutras. It's written by a person or persons who are named, it's credited to a person or persons who's named Patanjali. So the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is normally how the title is written. And in this sutras book, so sutra means thread, and the book is made up of threads, dense threads of information that, you know, if you read it just kind of on the surface level, is quite difficult to understand. Hello, Maria Elizabeth. You guys, I just saw that Denise drove up. She's supposed to pick up some yoga mats. I wasn't expecting her so early, but she might pop in here and you can see her. Anyway, Yoga Sutras. In the Yoga Sutras, which is made up of these dense threads of information, in the second sutra, in the first chapter of the second sutra, Patanjali tells us that the purpose of yoga is to quiet the mind. And, you know, from a pop culture kind of perspective, or from a popular opinion kind of thing, most people would tell you that the purpose of yoga is to become more flexible, or to get stronger, or to work out, or to lose weight, or, you know, any of these kind of body level things. But really, the purpose of yoga is deeper than that. It's to help quiet your mind, to help your mind be calm. Ah, somebody watching from Greece. Hello. Hi, Kate. And I don't know. I like to point this out. And depending on how long you've been practicing and kind of your experience with yoga, you may get this right away, or, you know, if you're newer to yoga, it may not quite make sense. But the reason that I wanted to point this out is because some people have left comments about my style of teaching, about taking pauses, about linking the breath to the movement. And the reason that we do all of that is, you know, the goal of yoga, which is to quiet the mind. So when we do a movement, and we do it mindfully, I'm going to sit back a little bit so I can demonstrate. If we, you know, if I say inhale and lift your arm up, you know, you could do, and then exhale, release the arm down, and you could, and that's not exactly what we're trying to do. You know, very specifically in my videos and in my teaching in person too, I talk a lot about how we want to coordinate the pace of the movement to the pace of the breath. So when we're inhaling to bring the arm up, the movement should last as long as the breath. So I'll demonstrate it. Okay, so you see, that one, it requires a lot of concentration to do that. We have to, really pay attention to what we're doing. That's why I even lowered my gaze so that I wouldn't have this visual distraction up here, and I could really concentrate on my breath and on the movement and tying them together. Let me pause there for just a second. Let me unlock the door in case Denise is trying to get in, and I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. Okay, so coordinating the breath to the movement. Okay, this is all still on the purpose of yoga. So it's something, even if you're a beginner, or even if you've been practicing a long time, or even if you've been practicing a long time in a different style, I encourage you to be open-minded and try this out, because I've been practicing yoga a long time. I've practiced many different types of yoga, but I really love, about this Krishnamacharya tradition, that strong emphasis on the mindfulness aspect and on practicing in a specific kind of way so that we, can understand and start to have these subtle or mental benefits of the practice. There's a lot to be said for having a calm and peaceful mind. Probably y'all would agree with that. All right, I'm gonna just get back over here. Okay. I wonder if I need to refresh this. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know how this thing works. I'll just pause it. All right. So that's the purpose of yoga, is to quiet the mind. And if you have any questions about that, please post them. I'm happy to talk about this stuff. When I'm doing it this way, it's, obviously very one-sided, and so I don't know how this information is landing on you, and, whether you have any questions, or, whether you agree or disagree or anything like that. So I don't know how much to elaborate. So I'll just do kind of that introduction version of that message for now. And then if you want more information about it, let me know, and I'll figure out a way to get that to you. Okay, next. Questions about how to practice if you're not flexible. Let's tackle that one first. When people are not flexible, sometimes, very often, they think that they can't practice yoga. They think that yoga is for people who are already flexible. And that's really not the case. In fact, I sometimes offer a series, I have offered in the past a series here in the studio called Yoga for People Who Are Not Flexible Yet. And, I could definitely do this one as an online course. If anyone's interested, let me know, and I can set that up. You do want to practice in a specific way, so it could be very intimidating, and in fact, possibly not beneficial if you're a person who's very inflexible to go to a regular yoga class, because it may just be a whole bunch of stuff that you actually can't do. So you want to just work to your capability, to your level of comfort. Something that I often talk about in my teaching is the concept of ahimsa, which means non-harm or kindness. And so as far as the yoga practice goes, we can interpret this to mean that when we practice, we should practice in a way that doesn't hurt our bodies, or even hurt our feelings, or hurt our mind, or anything like that. So, please, before you go into the yoga practice, if you're a person who's not flexible, go with the mentality of, I'm going to this class and I'm going to do whatever I can do. And if the teacher's asking me to do something I can't do, I am not even going to worry about it. Okay, so if you go to the class and the teacher's teaching forward folds, and everyone in the class, or even the teacher, demonstrates folding down and putting their chest on their legs, that really is not accessible for most people. And the forward fold does not have to look like that. So fold as much as you're comfortable. It might mean that you can fold enough to put your hands on your thighs, and that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Just go to someone from Texas, hi, go to your level of comfort. If bringing the hands onto the thighs brings a little bit of stretching to the backs of your legs or to your back, perfect. That's what you need to do. That's your beginning. And, just every time that you go and practice, just keep going to your comfortable limit of what you can do, and you'll start to see progress in no time. I think we feel a lot of pressure when we go to the yoga class or to do anything, to do it the way the teacher demonstrates or the way the classmates are doing it. And you have to know that everybody's body is different and they're not going to perform in the same way. So just, kind of prepare yourself mentally ahead of time that when you go in, you're only going to do what you can do, and that's enough. Okay, so that's for people who are not flexible. For people who are too flexible, we have to also be very mindful, but in a different way. So when we're too flexible, and I'm kind of one of these people, and I learned this lesson the hard way, but when we're too flexible, we have to make a conscious effort not to go to our maximum capacity. So if you're doing, let's take the same example, a standing forward fold, and it's very easy for you to fold a whole lot and bring your chest close to your legs. In fact, you should not do that. You should do less on purpose. You should bring your hands up a little bit higher than whatever's your maximum capacity. So maybe, for example, you keep your hands on your knees rather than on the floor. And as you're keeping your hands on your knees, instead of focusing on the flexibility aspect of the posture, focus on the strengthening aspect of the posture. So you can engage your leg muscles, you can engage your back muscles and your abs. And through this strengthening, you can, theoretically, over time, start to reduce your hypermobility and become a little bit more, I won't say stiff, but stabilized. You can become more stabilized in your body if you use your yoga practice from the perspective of strengthening. So if you're going to a class, this also can be really tricky because, as I was mentioning earlier, we have a tendency to want to do whatever the teacher is doing. And often yoga teachers are quite flexibility focused, and so there'll be a lot of discussion about, go to your limit, or stretch as far as you can, or move until you feel a stretch, this kind of language, which is appropriate for the majority of the population who is trying to become more flexible. But for people who are too flexible, that language is actually, not appropriate. And so we, people who are very flexible, have to keep in mind ourselves, when I practice, I'm going to do a smaller range of motion than what the teacher's asking, and I instead am going to focus on strengthening. So, that in itself is another mindfulness practice, because the teacher is teaching something, and whether you're not flexible or too flexible, in addition to following the practice and coordinating the breathing and the movement and all of that, we also have to think about what's appropriate for me and practice in that way. And I really can't emphasize this strongly enough. We have to practice in the way that is appropriate for us. At least, this is my personal philosophy from my teaching lineage, which, strongly advises that the practice should be appropriate for the practitioner. It's not one size fits all. Okay, I hope that didn't sound too stern and strict. Yeah, I think it's a message that's not out there enough, and I think a lot of people could benefit from hearing it. Yeah, practice at your own pace, at your own comfort level. Okay, then got through all of that. Do y'all have any other questions? Do you have any other yoga related stuff you'd like me to talk about? It could be like alignment thing for posture, alignment questions about posture. Could be breathing, meditation, chanting, any of that. I'm happy to answer anything that I can. While you're thinking about if you have any questions, I'm going to keep talking. And I want to tell y'all about our online classes. So, traditionally, we have not offered online classes. We have had, our in-person classes here at the studio since 2010. But because of, the situation right now, we had to get creative and figure out how to continue serving our students. And so we figured out how to offer classes online, and we offer a class every day. It's at 9 o'clock in the morning, Texas time, and we record it so everybody who registers, so sometimes people register who are not available. I've got a question. I'll come to that one in just a minute. If you're not available for the class that we offer at 9 o'clock, then, we're recording it and we can email you the link to the recording later. So if you're interested in practicing yoga with us, you can register for that and we'll send you the link. Okay, I'm going to start writing down some of these questions. Arthritis and sciatica. Okay, hopefully these questions are going to pop up over here. Oh yeah, and weight loss. Oh good, look at this. I can see comments. This is great. Okay. So that's our online classes. And, I want to let you know that there's a whole staff of teachers who teach here. And I happen to teach on Monday mornings. And other, yay. Hi, Kim. Thank you. Kim enjoys our Bigger Bodies classes. I teach my regular class, which is a moderate, regular, it's consistent week after week. I teach on right now with online Mondays at 9 o'clock. But we have, as I was saying, a whole staff of teachers who have quite the similar philosophy to mine in that the practice needs to be suitable to the person. But all of the teachers, of course, teach in their own style, their own, in their own way. But I recommend all of our teachers. So, if you want to do, if I'm teaching moderate, but you really prefer a gentle class, just figure out who's teaching gentle on our schedule and you can go to their class. And then we also have teachers who teach strong. So if you want something that's more physically challenging, you can try out some of the strong classes. And I'll post the link to our class schedule on this video thing somewhere after it's done so that you can, get more information about our classes if you want to join them. And then while I'm on this topic, I also want to let you know, and Kim just mentioned about the Yoga for Bigger Bodies class. That's a series that I've been teaching. I've done, I've got one more question. I've taught 2 classes out of the series already, and there's 2 more, but you still can register for that if you want to, because we're recording them and we're sending out the links. So even if you register today, you can attend, the next 2 classes, and then I'll send you the videos for the last 2 classes so you won't miss anything. And we have some other series also scheduled right now, and I'll post the link to our online workshops page so that you can see this. But right now, for example, we have scheduled Angela's offering sound for relaxation. So this is the singing bowls, and she has them actually set up in the other room right over here, this way. Excuse me. And that's on Wednesday evenings, and she's doing that, and you can still register for that. And then there's the Bigger Bodies. And then we have a prenatal series starting up, prenatal yoga, and that's on Saturdays. Actually, it started this past Saturday, but there's 3 more, and of course we're sending out the recordings. LK is offering yoga for runners and walkers, and that started this past Sunday, but it's going to continue for 3 more weeks. Recordings available. And then Angela is going to be offering yoga for sensitive souls on Saturdays starting May 9th. So anyway, just kind of a quick overview, but if you're interested in any kind of more specialized programming outside of regular classes, you can look on our workshops page and find out there. Many people have been asking about, will we be continuing to offer online instruction after we're able to reopen our brick and mortar space? And the answer is yes. We're definitely trying to figure out what that will look like, and things are changing, really day by day right now. So, we're starting to think about it. We don't know exactly what it will look like, partly because we don't know exactly when we will be able to open, but the plan is definitely to continue offering online instruction in some capacity. We're very excited to be able to expand beyond our walls right here to offer this instruction to more people, because I think our style of instruction is not broadly available all around the world, and you know, as evidenced by the popularity of our videos and all the like sweet comments that people leave. I mean, they really touch my heart. Someone's asking about the Bigger Body series. It's on the page called Online Workshops and Series. You can find it there. The comments really touch our hearts, and I have to tell you, when they come in, I get a notification on my phone. It's like, you know, YouTube comments, so I open it and I read it. And some of them I screenshot and I send them to Denise, and I was like, look what someone said about you. We really do get very excited about the positive comments that come in on our videos. But because of the comments, the point that I was getting to is that I'm starting to realize that this Bigger Bodies type of instruction and this accessible and kind of customized and respectful teaching is not available everywhere. So I'm more than happy to connect with anyone who is looking for this kind of instruction, and I can help you out, or we, you know, the team here can help you out with online instruction. And, you know, just one more thing I'll mention since I'm on the topic is that normally I offer private instruction and yoga therapy, like one-on-one sessions, and I haven't done any of that since we have closed our physical space, but I am thinking about how can I do this online. So that's coming in. If it's something interesting to you, just shoot me an email or a comment or whatever, and we'll figure out how to get that going for you. That type of instruction is very customized. It's exactly what the person needs. Okay, now let me get to some of these questions. I wonder if Denise is watching from her car in the parking lot. Denise, if you're watching, go ahead and come in. I've unlocked the door and you can pick up your mats if you want. All right, let's go to these comments. So the first question is, are these in order? Can yoga help with weight loss? Okay. So it's kind of a complicated answer. Yoga can help with weight loss, but not directly. You know, gaining weight or losing weight is a function of calories taken in and calories burned. And so if you're doing a very vigorous yoga workout kind of practice, then yes, you'll be burning more calories. And so, you know, you possibly could lose weight in that way. But in a more general sense, the way that yoga helps with weight loss is that over time, the yoga practice helps you become more mindful. You become more mindful about, when I eat this food, this is how my body reacts to it. Like, this is what happens to my digestion. This is what happens to my skin. This is what happens to my sleep. Denise, is that you? Yes. Okay, hi. You want to poke your head in? I think she's taking off her shoes. We're trying to be respectful of the social distancing, so she's not going to come close. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Hi, everybody.
The mats are there. Take what you need. Yeah, and just check the length to make sure that it's the length that you need. Okay. Okay. Thank you. See you later. Oh yeah, so the weight loss, mindfulness. So when we're practicing, and especially when we're practicing in the long term, you know, slowly over time, like I was talking about at the beginning, I don't know if everyone who's watching now was here at the beginning when I talked about the mindfulness of inhaling and coordinating the pace of the movement to the pace of the breath on the inhale and on the exhale. And so that kind of practice and that kind of, you know, introspection and increased awareness of the body starts to adjust our eating habits. So, you know, it can happen in that way. And another way that weight loss could possibly happen is through, you know, like a yoga therapy kind of consultation where we look at your specific constitution, your Ayurvedic constitution, and then start to look at what kind of foods are correct for you and what kind of foods are not correct for you. So I would say that yoga can definitely support weight loss, but we also have to look at, you know, the calorie intake versus the calorie, burned calories, and and that's how that would happen. And I would suggest slowly over time. We don't want to do any kind of crash weight loss kind of situation. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and if you have any more specific questions about that, send me an email and I can, give you more personalized information. Okay, let's continue. How can yoga help with arthritis and sciatic pain? Well, okay, so let me tackle these separately. Arthritis, it depends if we're talking about osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. If we're talking about osteoarthritis, we want to do gentle movements to kind of lubricate the joints, keep them hydrated. The more we move them, the more hydrated they will be. But it needs to be gentle movement that's not going to cause further inflammation. Diet is also an important consideration with arthritis because of the inflammation, so you want to make sure that you're eating the right foods that don't cause additional inflammation in your body. Sciatic pain can also be due to different factors. So we can have sciatic pain because of tight muscles, or we can have sciatic pain because of something going on with your bones, so specifically in the spine. So we have to understand about that. And sometimes people who have sciatica have had an x-ray, and so they have a better idea about the cause of their sciatic pain. From a yoga perspective, what we would do again, excuse me, is gentle movement. If you have the x-rays, then we'll have a better idea of whether there's a nerve being pinched in your lumbar spine that can, be the cause of the sciatic pain. If that's the case, then we need to look at, do you need physical therapy? We need to look at strengthening your muscles so that your muscles are supporting you more and, the bones aren't having to carry the bulk of your weight, like the majority of your weight. So the sciatica is one of these that it has a lot of, well, it depends. It depends on this and it depends on that. So if you want to talk about that more specifically, please do email me and I'll try to give you some more personalized information about the sciatica. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Bone spurs in the knee. Yes, thank you for this question. So if we have bone spurs in the knee, what kind of adjustments can we make to the practice to not irritate it and experience more pain? So this is a really great question. I could answer it for half an hour, but I'm going to try to give a little bit of a concise answer. So if you're in a regular yoga class and the teacher's asking you to do a lunge or asking you to do a kneeling posture, you can adjust these by kneeling, lunging less deeply, a smaller lunge, because the bone spurs they would be different for everybody, and so one person with bone spurs may have a different kind of discomfort than a different person with bone spurs. But if lunging, for example, is painful to you, find out how to lunge less or in a different way so that that movement is not causing pain. For kneeling, what you can do, I might actually grab a blanket and show this to you. Let's see. Let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. Okay, there we go. So I happen to have a couple of blankets right over here. Okay, so what I normally suggest for people who have bone spurs or knee pain of different varieties, there, you can see that, is when you kneel, to definitely kneel on something padded, and you could even put down 2 layers. And then, rather than kneeling just on your knees, scoot up to the front so that you're distributing your weight across your whole shin bone, and then there's less pressure on the knees themselves. So you can do, like cat and cow kind of stuff, or standing stuff, or anything like that. But like this, all my weight is actually on my shin bones and not on the knees. So that can be one option for you. All right, let me scoot back up here. All right, so hopefully that helps with the bone spurs in the knees. Next, we have, that's all the questions. Okay, any other questions? Let me know if y'all have any questions. Otherwise, I'll start to think about wrapping this up. You're welcome, Jamie. You're most welcome. I welcome all of the questions. You know, it's our bigger bodies videos that have become quite popular on our YouTube page, but we do all kinds of other stuff too. So if you have questions about other things related to yoga, we can definitely help with that. And you know, while I'm on that topic, one other thing that I want to mention is that the people who enjoy our bigger bodies videos are asking for more bigger bodies videos, but really pretty much everything on our YouTube channel is quite accessible. There may be a little bit that you wouldn't enjoy doing in some of the videos, but for the most part you could probably do pretty much any video on our page, and it would work for you. Arthritis in my hand. Yep. Oh good, I'm getting okay, yeah. Hi Miss B and Kitty, I'm going to post the link for the bigger body series as soon as I finish the video. All right. And for Kim, arthritis in the hand. Yes. Oh, thank you for this question because it reminds me that I didn't fully answer the question about the bone spurs. So let me answer about the hand and then I'll answer the general thing. So when we have pain in the hands, it's due to arthritis. There's some things that we can try. We could, sometimes we use props like, I'm going to show this to you. Let me just grab it. I'll be right back. Okay, sometimes we use a prop like this. It's a wedge. And for postures like anything where you put your hands down, like when you're on all fours or downward facing dog, sometimes we use this for people who have pain in their hands and in their wrists. And what you do with this, it's kind of slippery. So you put it under your mat. So the mat goes on top, so you still have your tacky surface. And then you put your hand down on it this direction. So normally, when you're doing, let me just go back. Yeah, you won't see it. Normally when you're doing cat and cow, your wrist is like in this kind of direction. And it's kind of, you know, extreme for some people and can cause discomfort. But with this one, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but your hand is more at an angle like this. So this tends to be more comfortable for many people. So that's one thing. If you don't have this, what you can do instead is use a blanket. And so the way you would use your blanket is you want to elevate the heel of your hand. So keep the heel of the hand on here and the fingers down on the mat. And that also will help to reduce or actually increase the angle in the wrist to maybe make things more comfortable. Okay, so that's specific to the hand. Now, generally, I don't know if this will be a popular answer, but I think this is really important. Sometimes when we go to a yoga class and the teacher is teaching, for example, downward facing dog, we just talked about this in the bigger bodies class yesterday. Sometimes that posture, like downward facing dog or any other posture, is just not appropriate. It's not appropriate for, I mean, maybe it's appropriate for half the class, but maybe not appropriate for the other half. And so if it's not appropriate, we either can modify it, you know, putting a blanket under the knees, using the wedge, whatever it is, we can modify. Or we might decide, this pose is just not for me. I'm not going to do this pose. And if that's the case, you can think about, if I was doing downward facing dog, what main benefit would I be getting from it? Is it strengthening? Is it flexibility? Is it whatever? And then think, what else could I do to get that same benefit? So maybe if the whole class is doing downward facing dog and you want to get the benefit of stretching your legs, maybe what you can do instead is posture that achieves the same goal as whatever you would be trying to achieve with that original posture that didn't work for you. And that really requires a bit of courage to do something different than what the teacher is asking, and it also requires some experience. But it's something that I want to normalize. You know, the practice needs to be suitable to the person. So if the teacher is teaching something that doesn't quite work for you, feel free to change it to something else. If it's a good teacher, they will be happy that you're doing that. A teacher who is maybe very new or very particular about things may not like it if you if you change the practice, but it may be a sign that you should find a different teacher who is willing to be more flexible, no pun intended, more flexible with you. All right, so yeah, so I guess the moral of the story there is, you know, feel free to do something else if the posture in question is not working for you. Okay, I think I have one more question here. Okay, so LM is asking about knees that dislocate easily. How to do the floor work. I might need to have a little more information about how the knees are dislocating, like in which kind of position. So if this is like real time and you can, maybe post me some more information there so that I can understand. But if it's floor work like kneeling that's causing the dislocation, I think the answer may be do something else that achieves the same result of whatever the posture is trying to achieve. Yeah. Because knees dislocating, like this is a perfect example of this concept of ahimsa that I talked about earlier, that we want to practice in a way that doesn't harm our body. We want to practice in a way that is kind and provides benefit without causing any type of harm. So it seems I'm being a little bit redundant there, but we want to be kind. We want to not cause harm. So if kneeling postures are making the knees dislocate, we won't do kneeling postures. We can do something else. Yeah, there's a lot of that goes on behind the scenes in my mind when, you know, I walk into my class here and I see who's there. And if I see people, for example, who have had, like, let me say this in a different way. There's lots and lots and lots of yoga postures. It's not difficult to pick the right kind of postures that won't harm most people. So there are certain postures that I very rarely teach because they don't work for a lot of people. Like, for example, I rarely teach sitting postures, sitting on the floor in group classes anymore, because so many people have trouble with tight hips or tight knees or tight ankles, and sitting is really uncomfortable. So, you know, if I'm trying to get them to sit on the floor and stretch the neck, but they can't even sit upright because their hips are tight, I'm really causing more harm than good. So I'd rather you know, just pick a different posture that can provide benefit without causing harm at the same time. Okay, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Yeah. No, that's not complicated at all. Yeah, so for you, you'll fall into the category like I was talking about earlier about, okay, thank you for all this background information. I was speaking earlier about people who are too flexible, people who have hypermobility for any reason, you know, because of an injury or because of a condition or whatever reason, genetics. We have to practice in a different way that focuses on strengthening rather than on getting to the ends of the range of motion. So maybe after I finish this video and post it, you can go back and hear that in a little bit more detail. But generally, you'll want to practice in a different way that is gentle and also focuses on strengthening to help, you know, manage your mobility. Yeah, maybe email me, because then I can give you lots of more specific information. I love all these questions. So the benefit of floor work, you know, maybe if she's doing the practice on her bed, it depends. What kind of benefits do you mean? Like, there's different benefits to the floor work. So yeah, this is one of those cases where there's a lot of, it depends. So yeah, I'm happy to answer you. If you just want to shoot me an email, you can send it to me. I'll post my email address and then I'll get back with you. Okay, I had intended to do this live for 30 minutes and now we're at 55. So I have Hopefully I've not overstayed my welcome. Hopefully this was helpful to y'all who are here live and people who may be watching it in the future. So we'll do this again. This was fun. If you have any questions, just send them over to me one way or another and I'll collect them, and the next time I do a live, I'll talk about it. And stay tuned. You know, we are working on more videos. I encourage you please to subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell, which is the thing that turns on emails to you. So if we post a video, YouTube sends you an email and says, hey, Zelinda's posted a new video, and you can come and check it out. All right, I think that's enough for one day. Lots of talking. Y'all please have a very nice day, and I'll talk to you soon. Any questions, send me a note. All right, bye everybody, thank you.